learning new details about a previously unreported death of a migrant child. Authorities announced yesterday that a 10-year-old El Salvadoran girl with a history of congenital heart defects died in U.S. custody last year. The young girl died of fever and respiratory distress in September at a hospital in Nebraska, according to a Department of Health and Human Services official. No other information about the girl was made public, other than she was in a medically fragile state when she entered the U.S. This previously unreported case marks the sixth death of a migrant child after crossing the southern border in the last 8 months. And I don't know where to begin, Eddie Glaude. Number one, that this was unreported. You could argue that they did not want this information to get out. And the information they do reveal, when this information is disclosed by an official in the government, is their excuse for why she died. Yeah. Which this government and this president will not take any responsibility for these children who were separated from their parents, for these children who are dying in our custody, and we are not being given the information on this. There's so many problems at stake here.
Right. So first of all, it reveals that this policy at its root is evil. I want to just say that just up front. It's evil.
Evil. It is.
And the fact that a 10-year-old child, a 10-year-old girl, this is somebody's baby. She was already taken from them. This is somebody's child is dead in the custody of supposedly a country committed to democratic principles, reveals the depth of our dissent in some ways. But it also reveals the banality of evil. Because it is happening in some ways, even though they didn't report it, it's happening in plain sight because the policy is still in place. And what the banality of evil shows, Mika, is that it doesn't mean that you have to be committed to a draconian immigration policy in order for this to happen. You just have to be complicit in your silence in some ways. So a 10-year-old baby reveals the baseness of who we are in some ways. And we have to call it for what it is. It's evil. It's evil.
Mika, while this story has been covered extensively, it hasn't been covered in depth because the government refuses to allow us to cover it in depth. We do not know the numbers of children held in an orphanage, a large-scale orphanage run by the United States of America. We have anecdotal reports that will be fleshed out in the days ahead coming out of El Paso, that each week in El Paso, Texas, at the airport, hundreds of children are lined up and put on flights to disparate places in the United States of America, like Nebraska, to other facilities where they are housed. The children are cordoned off from the rest of the passengers at the El Paso airport. No one is allowed to speak to them, to interrogate them, to ask them their ages, what country they're from, what state they're going to, what is their destination. It's going to be a fairly significant story, I think, in the days and weeks ahead. But the bottom line gets to what Eddie Glaude just told us. This policy is not only evil, it is outrageous, and it would scar the soul of any American who spends more than 5 seconds thinking about what we're doing under the guise of the United States of America.
Well, and for this president and for the people around him, now we've lost some of the major players in this administration who seem to make you feel like they had a sense of duty that went beyond the president, patriotism to the country. We've got a lot of lackeys around this president. Where is the separation czar? Where is the person giving the country answers? The people who are in the president's family, who work for the president, where are you in this? Can you get him to understand how evil it is to separate children from their families, and how we have to make this right? And, you know, quite frankly, where is the freedom of the press and access to information so that there's transparency in government? I want to know how this child got to Nebraska. I want to know, was she separated from her family? I want to know what happened when she got sick. Who was with her? Was she dying alone in a room? Where was she? Who was with her? What's her story? Why don't we know about these children? Why can't we see them? They are in U.S. custody. This is our problem. We own this. This is our responsibility as a country and as a nation. And we are not being given answers as to what is happening to small, young children, to teenagers, to girls, to boys who are being taken away from their families, from their parents, and left alone in our custody, and some of them getting sick, sexually abused, or dying. Is this really us? How sick? Ivanka, Jared, anybody, get to him or say something. Step out alone and say something. Do something. It's the core of who we are, and it's humiliating for our country on the world stage. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.